I'm an author, or at least I'd like to say that I am. I'm not sure if I've quite earned that title yet, but if nothing else, I'm a story crafter. Since I was in around 5th grade, I've been near constantly thinking about stories, thinking about characters in media that I love, and my own characters. I've made so many stories, universes even, in my mind, as I lay down to sleep, or as I pace back and forth in my room late at night listening to music. English class has always been my safe haven in school, and I've always been close with all of my English teachers. Even though most of them had no clue, they really nurtured my love for writing with all of their encouragement. My thoughts took a while to materialize into words, but when I started, you could not stop me. And there wasn't really much to stop me at the time. Middle school was an isolating experience. I had friends, really great friends, but elementary, I endured a lot of bullying, and that followed me both physically, but especially mentally. And in 8th grade, I had a bit of a mental break, and that ended up with me being homeschooled. Something I had been begging for years. But once that happened, I was separated from my friends. My mom was usually working to provide for us. I, frankly, hated my father. My brother was recluse. Oh, something fell. And my sister was across the state. Surrounded by just stuffed animals and pictures of BTS around my room, I was on my own with my thoughts. And so I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote some more. I've scrubbed my early work off of the face of the earth. It was extremely cringy, but hey, I had to start somewhere. But it was actually crazy how much of a following I gained from even that really earlier work. Looking back, I think that follower count was what put the seed of being a full-time author in my head. I specialize in romance, even though I have a limited knowledge of romantic relationships myself. It's always been the genre that I gravitate towards the most, fantasy being a close second, put together a lot of the time. I think it comes from a everlasting loneliness of sorts that I have, but that is something to take up with a therapist and not my whoever reads my journalism stuff. But nonetheless, it fuels the pen to the paper, or in my case, the fingers to the keys. But my isolation only got worse when COVID hit. And as it worsened, my parents finally split. And I moved with my mom and brother to the Bay with my sister and her husband. My sorrow and suffering fuels my work like nothing else. So, this was a really great time of productivity when it came to writing for me. But there was just so much wrong then. And I found solace in my writing because I have complete control over the narrative, over all of the characters' lives, and that's not something you can say about reality. When I started going back to school, though, my writing started to get stifled. My creativity started to die out with influences in my life, killing my drive to create. Once again, my English teacher saved me. I had something for myself in my classes. That is, until I decided to join journalism. People I actually knew got to see my writing, albeit it wasn't the fiction that I think I excel at in writing, but it was still mine, and people enjoyed it. And that was a good kind of giving to my writing that I hadn't experienced in a long time at that point. It had started to be when I wrote something, I kept it to myself, oftentimes deleting pages and pages of words written because it wasn't good enough to me, or I didn't feel like it was interesting enough to share. Everything felt lackluster. It took time, but I realized that I wasn't writing for myself anymore. And writing begun as something for me. And sharing it with others enriches the experience a lot, but I realized that I should keep it mainly for me. It should stay firstly for myself. The summer of 2023 was probably the worst 2 months of my life. Mochi agrees. She was there. But as I've said, my sorrows seem to bring forth the flow of creativity like nothing else. So I wrote a lot at that time, and I wrote nearly, 40,000 words in like a week or two? It was a lot. And I've been writing off that creative high ever since. And ideas and thoughts that I had in that short period over the past year have become a lot bigger and evolved into whole book series, whole stories. It's amazing. One is a couple of books long. It's kind of a period piece when the West was being tamed in America. Think Red Dead Redemption. That's where I got a lot of ideas from. I'm not ashamed to say it. But the focus of the story is Anastasia, a young girl who is trying to find her way in the world, and along the way meets a really hot cowboy. Kind of jealous. I project on my characters a lot. I'm not afraid to say it. I think all authors do that. I'm friends with a few other authors. I think we all do that. But anyways, another one focuses on a vampire, Celine, who I've grown to love a lot. She is an artist who's freshly moved to New York after a traumatic experience in her last home of Chicago. And the last series that I have in mind is probably the most important to me. It focuses on a family of a lot of characters who I'd made randomly and eventually just became a family. They were originally characters I made like based off of a game that I love, but they turned into their own people and in a modern universe where they occupy a lot of my brain space now. Each book will focus on a different character, and honestly, I could probably go for 8 books with the way that I love them. I love character writing. It is my favorite part of being an author. And I find that a lot of my characters reflect myself in one way or another. The Celine project came to because I wanted to write about a transition I was having in my own life at the time. And the 2 characters who are probably my favorites, Bear and Riri, are twins. And each of them reflect a different way that I've dealt with my father's actions and their consequences on my life. And Anastasia is just like me in a lot of ways. I have no clue whether my dreams of being a writer will ever come to fruition. But I have a couple backup plans in the medical field. There, I can help people if writing doesn't work out. But I'm really holding out. Even if it's later, I'd love to become a full-time author. And I only hope that in the future my writing can connect with people the same way it has so far. And whether it becomes my full-time or not, my full-time job or not, I'll chase writing to the ends of the earth. I'll follow wherever my creativity goes. And I'm happy with that. Also, shout out to Kim Namjoon of BTS and my cat Mochi. I would not have been able to do any of this without them, nor would I be able to graduate. So thank you, and I am out of here. Hope you enjoyed the video.